welcome to the C Team. I'm Mike Curley.
And this is Frank Curley.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while. With all the
scheduling, we've been up to a lot of things that have prevented us, and also the studio has not been available. So it's been, about a month?
Something like that.
I
have the New Jersey Renaissance Fair coming up this weekend.
Good times.
Yep, not plugging.
Yeah, sure. So today we're talking about the movie that we've talked about, once or twice before, this obscure little independent picture called Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah, not a lot of people have heard about it, though.
We're trying to get the word out here.
Yeah,
because we think the guys who are putting this together put in a lot of work, and I really want people to see this movie.
I mean, I'm watching this like, who's this Captain America, person? Like, why is he important?
I was asking that question the whole time, but I think he did really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
enough of the bullshit. Let's move on to holy shit.
Yeah, this is the big one. This is the movie that when Avengers first came out, 2012. This is the start of the end point that started. It's the culmination of everything that's come up to now since that first stinger where Thanos showed his purple face.
Yeah.
So it's a big one, and it's got pretty big shoes to fill, all things considered.
Yeah.
So what do you think, just off the top of your head? Do you think it met the expectations?
There's the question of the day. Here's the thing. Like Fellowship of the Ring, I feel like I can't judge this until I see the rest.
That's true. It is very much a part one, even though they aren't calling it part one.
Yeah. Yeah, they stopped calling it part one, but it's, from what I understand, the basic story is more or less unchanged. I mean, you're going to make alterations when you actually film it, but yeah, you have this part one, and we already know there's going to be a part two, so even with the remarkable ending it had, we know this isn't an ending.
Yeah, especially for, spoiler alert right off the top of the hour here.
Yeah, it's been how long since the movie came out?
It's been about 3 weeks. So, but yeah, spoiler alert, some of the people who go down in this movie have already movies announced for after Part 4 or after Avengers 4.
And Tom Holland can't keep his mouth shut.
So, I think that we have not seen the last of people, finger snap or not. But let's talk about more of this movie. It's kind of more Thanos' movie than anybody else's.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, he's the protagonist in that he's the person you're following. He's the person on the quest here. Yeah,
he's a much different character than we have seen in his, albeit brief, but his appearances, throughout the MCU. I mean, his first spoken line was talking to Ronan. Your politics bore me. You're a child. Get out of my face.
He's kind of blustery. He's a little hammy. He's kind of annoyed with Ronan, too, at that point. But yeah, he's more threatening and imposing toward Ronan than he really acts toward most of the characters in Infinity War. Well, in Infinity War, he's kind of morose about the whole thing.
I guess you could say he doesn't respect Ronan.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, where he respects, he respects the Avengers.
Yeah, that is the thing I noticed about Thanos, is that he's like all villains, he believes he's doing the right thing, and he explains himself. He's got, the excuse, the reasons he's doing it. But most villains will look at the hero as misguided, short-sighted, or be angry or vengeful at the heroes. Thanos isn't like that in this movie. In this movie, Thanos is looking at the heroes and thinking, okay, you guys think you're doing the right thing. I can get that. You're putting a very valiant effort. You're going to lose, and I'm going to kill half of you, but it's not because I don't like you.
Yeah.
It's because this is what I have to do. And, he shows respect and admiration for Iron Man in particular. When he has the early confrontation with Star-Lord and Gamora, he outright says, "Oh, I like you." He looks at the heroes probably a lot like himself, where he sees people willing to go to the edge to do what they feel is right, just like him in his mind.
Right. I mean, we've seen like the evil dad several times before, but
A lot of evil dads in this,
yeah,
in Marvel.
but it seems to haunt Thanos killing Gamora this time. It actually feels like this is like the last thing he ever thought you would ever have to do.
Yeah, there is definitely shock and sorrow in his face and in his actions when he goes to do that. And the Marvel team, they did a lot of work to make this, because CG is gotten really good in the last couple decades, but it's still difficult to do it believably. And they went the whole 9 yards to make sure Thanos, because he gets a lot of close-ups.
Yeah.
He's on screen a lot. He's, in a lot of ways, the main character of this movie. So they went to a lot of trouble to make him a believable CG character, even more so than someone like Thor, or not Thor, the Hulk. And they allow emotion to really come through. And yeah, he is a very different villain. He's not trying to take over the world. He doesn't even want to rule afterward. He has something he believes is the right thing to do, and he knows people are going to try and stop him, and he doesn't begrudge them that.
Yeah.
He's a little like the Operative in Serenity.
Yeah, he's a monster, but
Yeah.
he believes there's a greater cause of it.
Yeah, he to an extent he's like, I'm a monster. What I'm doing is monstrous. I might not even have a place in the world I'm creating, but I believe it's the right thing to do. And he has a lot in common with that ethos.
So yeah, I wonder how he's going to develop in like the second one. I mean, we'll go into speculation later, but once he actually sees what he has done,
Well, he looks pretty satisfied at the end of this one.
well, yeah, he hasn't seen like the long term
Yeah,
effects of it.
It is a short-sighted plan.
Yeah.
He may not realize it yet, and I always say there's a reason he's referred to as the Mad Titan and not the Reasonable Titan. So yeah, he can,
like the credible Hulk.
yeah, he believes what he's doing is right, but that doesn't mean he's got all his cards there.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually really like Thor's part with the the space forge.
Yeah, that was cool. It's a cool nod to the actual mythology too.
Yeah.
Where in Norse mythology, Atri is the person who makes Thor's hammer, and in the myths, it's a whole thing about how long the forge, or how long and how hot the forge is going.
Yeah.
In the myths, it's because Loki's being a jerk. In this one, it's because Thanos was a jerk. But that is I believe a deliberate callback to the mythology, as Thor has to hold the forge open and make sure it's hot enough.
Yeah. Though it is probably Loki's fault just because Norse mythology.
It usually is. And even this, to an extent, is Loki's fault.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. We're not going to get into details, but yeah, it felt a lot more Norse than a lot of Ragnarok.
Yeah, especially with the giant dwarf.
Yeah, played by
Peter Dinklage.
Fascinating casting choice.
That was a deliberate joke, obviously. But yeah, so I found actually this site, just moving on, to the ending, of course, the finger snap of doom. Thanos erases half of the universe. There's a website out there, didthanoskill.me, where you go there and you find out whether or not you survived the finger snap. I did not, apparently.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I'm kind of afraid to look at it, quite frankly. Because, that's kind of a haunting thought, isn't it?
The directors, actually, they went on the record for some of the characters. Like, some of them they said was too spoilery. Like Jane Foster, they said they didn't want to talk about. But, like, Sif didn't survive it. And a couple others... It was about the people they were asked about. It was kind of split 50-50, and basically, the ones that haven't shown up for a few movies probably went down. Like Liv Tyler's Betty Ross is gone.
Yeah, Wachi's like the main villain behind.
Yeah,
but
he wouldn't talk about Korg and Mike from Ragnarok.
Well, we'll get to those. More toward the end of this, but so specific detail things that caught our attention. Doctor Strange
Yeah, he has kind of a flip where early on he says he's going to sacrifice literally everybody to protect the Time Stone, but then when it comes down to it, he apparently sacrifices the Time Stone to save Tony.
Right, and between that, because this is a detail I forgot for a while, but then I finally remembered, he saw the future.
Yeah, he looked at all the 14 million possible futures.
Yeah, so he basically watched Avengers 4. And
the director's cut and the concept and
the commentary. It was a pretty trippy experience.
And probably a lot of the dark fanfics where they lose.
Oh God. So it does make me wonder. It's like since Doctor Strange said to Tony like this was the only way.
And even as he's fading away, he says that. Yeah. So I think it's pretty obvious that he foresaw that sequence of events, because he does change.
Yeah.
And he could have used the Time Stone against Thanos. He could have at least tried it. I guess he watched a version where he did try it and it didn't work. Yeah. So that I think is going to play into the next one, definitely. Because, yes, obviously they have a plan going forward. They're not kind of going back to the future and just winging it.
Yeah, because, well, we'll get to that shortly, but they've done that before, and they've done a lot of things differently. Quite frankly, I think Age of Ultron was improved with the film.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Along with Civil War.
It's just a different storyline, really, with the name on it.
Yeah, and so is Infinity War. See, Infinity War in the comics is actually the sequel to Infinity Gauntlet.
Right, and Infinity Gauntlet starts with the finger snap, basically.
Yeah. So I guess we might as well move on to Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, let's keep talking about this movie.
All right,
and then go on.
Right, fair enough.
So the other major thing right at the very end is Nick Fury finally saying his favorite word, as he calls somebody with a blue and red and a gold star on their outfit.
So,
who, as if you're a comics reader or if you've just been paying attention, it's Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Preparing for her movie.
So is she stuck in the 90s? Is that
no? Her movie takes place in the 90s, and the movie is going to explain why she hasn't been around for 20 years, basically.
Yeah.
Now, Captain Marvel, she has powers and has a lot to do with the Kree, who were in Guardians of the Galaxy, and in her movie, Ronan and Korath are going to be in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're coming back. Coulson's in it. A young Nick Fury with, I believe, both eyes and actual hair will be in it.
I want, because of the 90s. I'm just imagining dressing like Jules Winfield.
That would be hilarious. But I hope so too. And the Kree have also been. It's actually bringing in the Kree and the Skrulls. Now the Skrulls have been absent from the MCU in large part because they're mostly associated with the Fantastic Four, who are still currently under the auspices of Fox. Now, it turns out, I was reading into this, the actual deal is that Fox has the rights to the named Skrull characters, like the Super Skrull and particular characters, but the Marvel can still use the Skrulls as a species. Yeah, it's one of those stupid legalese things.
Yeah,
but
I just want one outline of just a step-by-step that led to that kind of licensing problem.
I don't know. It's legal stuff. It's from before Marvel realized that they could put together a cinematic universe like this.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm looking forward to the Captain Marvel movie. It should be interesting. Jude Law is going to be in it as Mar-Vell, who is the original Captain Marvel. He's a Kree, and yes, that's his name, Mar-Vell. But this will also mean with Jude Law that we have two sets of Sherlocks and both of their Watsons in the MCU. You have Benedict Cumberbatch and
Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch. What did I say?
Cumberpatch.
You all know who I mean.
Yeah.
You could say butterscotch cupcake, and you'd know who I mean.
Wait. Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in this movie?
Well, he's Doctor Strange. No, I'm saying the MCU as a whole has both Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, who are Sherlock and Watson from the British series, and Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, who are Sherlock and Watson from the American series. So
Yeah.
Apparently, I was reading both Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. refused to say the line "No shit, Sherlock" during Infinity War.
Yeah, even though I've seen a lot of posts where if that line isn't said, I'm asking for my money back.
Yeah, well, they got sick of the joke, which I can see. It was kind of one of those things that, like, had too much hype to it for a one-line stupid thing. But anyway.
So I guess I should probably also mention, so between now and the next movie, next Avengers movie, they're all going to be prequels.
Yeah.
So we are not going to know what's really going to happen.
Just a smart move on their part. Yeah. I mean, you would have to resolve what's going on. And I've heard rumors that Avengers 4 is going to have a time skip, too.
Yeah.
So time skip. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. We could talk a little bit about Infinity Gauntlet. As we said before,
yeah.
Infinity Gauntlet kind of starts with the finger snap.
Yeah, basically, I read this. I got the graphic novel shortly after the first Avengers came out, and yeah, it was a fascinating experience. Especially, like Thanos is a much different character in the comics. Like, he's basically trying to woo death by grabbing the Infinity Gauntlet and say, "Ooh, look at all the wonderful things I can do! I can kill half the universe. I can turn my daughter into a zombie."
Yeah, they did change Thanos' motivation significantly in Infinity War, because Lady Death is just not a thing in the MCU, apparently.
Yeah.
Which,
probably for the better.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of fantastical things that, as fantastical as the MCU is and has gotten, it might not fit as well on the screen in this particular universe.
So, I think Infinity Gauntlet is one of the first stories where there's a great threat, all the heroes are dead, we're going to go back in time and bring them all back to life, storylines.
I think, I want to say, when did Infinity Gauntlet come out? Early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s.
Well, Days of Future Past does predate that, but it's not as big of an event. Days of Future Past, the actual comic book, is like 2 or 3 issues. It's not like the big epic thing, and I could talk about that, but it does predate Infinity Gauntlet, and it is one of those, exactly what you said, all the heroes are dead, you have to go back in time to fix it.
Yeah, and this is far from the only time that Marvel has done this. Age of Ultron basically follows the same formula. A big villain, everyone's dead, go back in time. Only, for some reason, in Age of Ultron it was a little dumb because Wolverine goes back in time twice, gets Hank Pym to somehow have the future go precisely as it did the first time, except for a failsafe on Ultron. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say here, in regards to Infinity War and Avengers 4, if they're going to do this, I hope they just do this once.
Yeah, that kind of serial escalation doesn't really... Yeah. I don't even like it in comics, because it's ridiculous, the whole back and forth. It seems every once in a while, every few years, the comic writers decide, we're going to be edgy, we're going to kill everybody, but not really.
Yeah, like Ultimatum comes to mind. Like, I don't know if everyone's come back from that yet, but still.
Well, they kind of got rid of the Ultimate Universe entirely now.
Yeah, it's probably for the better. And
yeah, it was not a nice place, except for Spider-Man, and then they shot him.
How dare you smile?
Yeah, the Ultimate Universe started out as like, let's streamline everything, but it became, let's make everybody a dick, except Spider-Man, but let's be a dick to him.
Where I think MCU definitely did it better.
The MCU is a much better Ultimate Universe than the Ultimate Universe was.
Yeah, I think the Ultimate Universe, the idea was like, okay, no one's like high and mighty, let's make them human, but they just went way too far.
Well, it was that and like trying to streamline, because the mainstream comics have like, at this point, 60 years of history behind them. So the Ultimate Universe, the idea there was bring it back to basics, start over so that new readers can get into it now without having to know what happened to Spider-Man in 1974. But it became a darker and edgier thing where everybody was a jerk and the deaths did stick, except when they didn't, but they were like unnecessarily brutal and sadistic about everything. It was it was teenage edgelord crap.
So I think the MCU has as both some people might call it a weakness. I call it an inherent strength, where there is a shelf life to the MCU, where these actors aren't going to live forever. They're not. They may not want to do these roles forever. So we need to make just one solid story. Throughout their career as these roles, where comic books just draw Spider-Man coming back to life for the umpteenth time.
Yeah, the format of the movies allows them to have a story with a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
we saw the beginning. The middle was around about Ultron and Civil War, and now we're at the end. We're seeing the culmination of those stories, and it's not going to come out of this with just, oh, we're going to soft reboot, Spider-Man's back again. It's going to have them mature and change and go forward, which I think is the best thing that can happen with the comics as a medium.
Yeah, and knowing the limits of these actors just keeps everything grounded, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the limits of their contracts. Apparently, Chris Evans, Infinity War was going to be his final movie because he was sick of the Marvel Creative Committee, which was meddling in a lot of things. But then Marvel Studios ditched the committee, put Kevin Feige in charge, and Chris Evans gladly came back and signed up for more movies past Infinity War.
Really? I thought Kevin Feige was was always kind of in command. What?
He was kind of the showrunner, but there was a committee, the Marvel Creative Committee, that started to do recommendations. They wanted this, they wanted that. I believe, I would have to check this, but I believe the Marvel Creative Committee is part of why Age of Ultron was as muddled as it was. Where you could look it up, they had a lot of friction between them and Joss Whedon in making the movie, where they wanted certain subplots taken out, they wanted others brought in, and the movie suffered for it. Not a lot, but noticeably.
Yeah, I think the Thor shirtless scene was a result of that.
Yeah, it was. They cut bits out of it, but they made him still keep the whole thing. It was, Anyway, so hopefully this is the one big kill everybody crisis that the Marvel Comics universe or Marvel Cinematic Universe goes through, because I wouldn't want them to keep doing this year after year.
Yeah, and from what I understand, Doctor Who also kind of has that problem where he kind of fixes the universe. Another big crisis, he fixes the universe again, and it just never ends.
Yeah, the Doctor Who is kind of in the same boat, where he's been going strong since the 1950s or 60s, so you have to keep repeating things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Avengers 4,
oh boy.
We don't have a whole ton of information yet, even though they started filming that about a month after they stopped filming Infinity War.
Actually, the Russo brothers, the directors, behind these two movies, made a joke. The closest we heard to a perfect guess for the subtitle is forever. It's actually almost forever.
I don't get it.
Well, he was just joking that one of the guesses for the subtitle is
Avengers Forever.
Yeah, he goes, it's actually almost forever.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of theories, but what they've said so far is that Christopher Marcus, the writer of one of the writers of Infinity War, said it's not going to do what you think it does.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard a lot of things about time travel. I've seen shots of the filming, and we have Steve Rogers in his Avengers 1 costume. Chatting with Ant-Man and Tony, who looks more like very recent Tony Stark rather than back in 2012.
Yeah, so I think there's going to definitely... Yeah, I've heard there's going to be some kind of revisiting to the original Avengers movie. Maybe something they do there with how they deal with Loki changes the course of events. Or maybe they all go back in time and just go knock on Thanos' door right then and there.
Deck him.
Yeah. I'm thinking... Well, they said the deaths are real, but that doesn't mean that they won't be undone. Especially the finger snap deaths. I can see them easily going, well, those weren't really deaths. They were just disintegrated or they were just changed.
Yeah, well, I've heard, the ones who, like, specifically died because of Thanos, not because of the finger snap. Like, Gamora, from what I heard that she's actually going to have a major role in the third Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, too.
And then, of course, we have Spider-Man. Even before Tom Holland spoiled things, like, all right, we know he's coming back in some form or another.
Yeah, Tom Holland, Spider-Man and Black Panther both have post-Avengers 4 movies announced. And hell, Black Panther was still in the theater that we were at when we saw Infinity War.
Yeah, we could have watched them back to back. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we could still do that right now.
So I don't think that they would introduce this character and have him be one of their most financially and critically successful characters in movies and then boot him off in the next movie. I think... So that's what makes me think that the finger snap deaths are going to be undone in some fashion.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm thinking, in regards to Avengers 4, this is partly based on the deal that Disney and Fox are working on that may or may not go through, where Disney and Marvel are trying to reacquire the rights. Well, they're trying to buy Fox's creative division, which includes the rights to Deadpool, the X-Men, and Fantastic Four. So I would not be terribly surprised if that goes through, if whatever happens in Avengers 4 changes the universe to allow for, like, mutants to come in and the Fantastic Four. Because that's kind of what I expect from Avengers 4. I expect it to leave the MCU changed and in a different place. The most mundane version of that would be all the old Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, whoever, are either pushed out or killed or gotten out of the way in some fashion. And the next phase of movies follows guys like Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, the Wasp, the characters who have come in more recently.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling... I feel like Tony Stark's arc, we see him as a billionaire who just kind of let his company, go awry. And then he's been basically a control freak ever since.
Yeah.
So I think his arc, and especially you can kind of see this in Spider-Man Homecoming, is slowly, steadily just giving the reins to someone else.
Yeah, he even says to Spider-Man he wants Peter to be better. Clearly, I think in Peter, he's looking for a successor. I've also heard in Avengers 4 the kid from Iron Man 3 is going to show back up.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
I can imagine they might bring back a lot of characters you just have not seen for a while.
Yeah.
Like I would kind of want to see like Baron Mordo from Doctor Strange, him showing up to help, or the Hulk squares up and all of a sudden Abomination shows up because he doesn't like Thanos anymore either. Yeah. Any more than Hulk does.
We need to dig up everyone.
Yeah, this is, it's an all-hands-on-deck situation, and, a lot of your usual hands are no longer there.
Yeah.
So, or Stallone and his Ravagers from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would like to see them bring back a lot of characters who did not get the spotlight or were just implied to be off elsewhere.
So yeah, as far as the creative team, one thing they've said, McFeely specifically, one of the writers,
Stephen McFeely. We broke your heart. Now we're going to blow your mind. So with that note, I do have other speculations regarding Avengers 4. So Adam Warlock. If you have not heard of him, quite frankly, I did not hear about him until I've read Infinity Gauntlet. But he's a major player in that particular storyline. Rounding up the heroes to basically be a distraction, so he can get Silver Surfer to fly through and snatch the gauntlet out of his hand. Yeah. They can't do that unless they get that Fox deal.
Yeah. So. But we still have Adam Warlock, and we have plenty of characters who could.
They've been hinting at him subtly or not since the first Guardians of the Galaxy. In the collector's collection, you can see what looks like his cocoon in the background, and then at the end of the second Guardians of the Galaxy, the Sovereign, the Gold People, they straight up say we're making Adam, who is obviously Adam Warlock.
So I wonder if there's going to be a time skip. I imagine. I imagine the gold people, sovereigns. Is that
The
what
sovereign, yeah.
The sovereigns are also going to realize, what is happening, and also agree we need to fix this, and send Adam Warlock whatever he's capable of, to round up whoever he can and solve it. And if it does become like an alternate future thing, it might be where Warlock is a hero out of necessity now, but in the alternate future that Avengers 4 creates, maybe he forgets all of that, and he returns as the villain. Maybe Star-Lord can even a Lampshade or Raccoon.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking probably Captain Marvel is the biggest thing, because the writers of the MCU, the showrunners there, have said she's the most powerful hero in the MCU. So it might be that that's what Doctor Strange was aiming for with letting him have the Time Stone. Letting him snap the fingers, because in doing that, that's the big enough thing that Nick Fury sends out the distress call to her and brings her into the fold. So I think she's probably going to be like the key, so to speak, to the whole thing.
If she's connected with the Kree, and that's basically the Guardians of the Galaxy's territory, so maybe Adam Warlock will be part of that.
It's possible. I think they are going to bring Adam Warlock. They've been hinting at him enough. They got to do something with him, whether it's here or in the third Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knows?
Okay. And so moving on. So how our heroes will return? We've already talked about time travel. It makes me wonder, what flavor of time travel are we going to look at? We have the classic, just linear,
Back to the Future rules.
Yeah, Back to the Future rules. Or, the Trunk scenario, which I've seen in more than one thing. Fire Emblem Awakening actually did that. I think it was actually kind of cool, what they did.
Well, a lot of things have done that, yeah.
Yeah, whereas is another dimension. But personally, my random guess, is that when he snapped and, killed half the universe, maybe because the Infinity Gauntlet is so powerful, he split the universe in half. And there's a universe where instead the other half
that would be a way to get around the whole the deaths are permanent thing. That, oh yeah, they are permanent here, and they were permanent there, but the other guys are dead. And that would be a way to get around it. I'm wondering if it's going to be kind of like in Infinity Gauntlet, where one of the heroes gets the gauntlet and undoes it. Personally, what I would like to see, and I'm calling this now before anybody else can, I want to see Captain America with the gauntlet, with his old shield, and finally say, "Avengers assemble," as he snaps his fingers and everybody pops back in.
That would be pretty awesome. Though it would be kind of against what the directors have said.
Yeah, but they're, at this early in the process, they're not going to give away the game. If they have something like that planned, yeah, they're going to throw some misinformation out. I think it's possible. I think it's unlikely, because I'm really bad at guessing these things, but that's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they're going to say that line, because they have been teasing it for ages, and almost said at the end of Age of Ultron. But I think that would be the ultimate rallying cry for whoever's left at the end of Avengers 4.
Yeah. Well, in Infinity Gauntlet, the way it ends is basically...
Nebula gets it and undoes it.
Yeah, Nebula gets it, undoes it, and then Thor, hits... basically hammers, Thanos out of the way before he could suicide bomb everyone. But,
okay, well,
one interesting thing about that ending is Thanos gets imprisoned into like this alternate dimension where he's just in charge of a farm, and he's perfectly peaceful with that.
And that's kind of how Infinity War ends, with a shot of him. It even looks like it's got the same Scarecrow wearing his armor, although you don't get a good shot of it from the distance.
Yeah.
So that would be an interesting thing. Whether they go revisit that or what, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, another thing, you said that Thanos included himself
Yeah, there's somebody asked the Russos whether Thanos included himself in the random lottery. They didn't say yes or no, but they did say that Thanos has a very interesting look on his face after he snaps his fingers, which to me implies that he was actually giving it a fair go, that he did, and that would fit with his character. That he wants it to be fair. And he believes he's doing the right thing, and that kind of shows the strength of the character, that he's not being a hypocrite. Like the original X-Men, Wolverine calls out Magneto for sticking Rogue in the machine, and he says, "If you were really so righteous, it'd be you in that thing, sacrificing yourself for this."
And he kind of did.
Yeah, Thanos did. At least he gave it as apparently as fair a shot as anybody else got. So I can kind of respect that as a character, that he's not a hypocrite. He believes in some horrific things that he's doing, but he's not exempting himself.
Right. And it makes me wonder if they do my guess of the two halves being like different worlds. Makes me wonder, would the Ultra world be without Thanos then?
Well, if he included himself in the lottery, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go over who survived thus far. So at the University of Iowa, director Russo revealed that Valkyrie survived the ambush, and other Asgardians fled, and Thor said that half his people are dead from that. So we know some of the Asgardians at least are still alive. But he's kind of mum about whether or not Valkyrie left with the other Asgardians, which I imagine she did out of common sense. But
yeah, I think that was the implication, that they all got into escape pods and left. Okay, so I'm looking at slashfilm.com, where they have an interview with the Russo brothers. So just going down the line, Howard the Duck is alive.
Of course.
Jane Foster is unconfirmed. As a potential spoiler. Now, Natalie Portman has said she's not really interested in coming back.
Yeah, they didn't give her really that much to really chew on.
But in the comics, Jane Foster, eventually, she is the most recent wielder of the hammer. So that might be a way they go. The Matt Damon's actor Loki from Ragnarok did not survive. Betty Ross, Liv Tyler in The Incredible Hulk, is gone.
Yeah.
Korg and Mike, the gladiators from Ragnarok, it's unconfirmed. It's another spoiler.
Yeah.
Shuri from not Captain America, Black Panther's sister, it's unconfirmed. Which I presume that means she's going to be back in the next one, maybe even as the Black Panther. Sif is gone. Ned from Spider-Man's friend from Homecoming is unconfirmed. Aunt May is alive. Nakia, also from Black Panther, the love interest there, is unconfirmed, but she's deep undercover. And that's the ones they confirmed or thought to comment on. So that's who's left.
I was really hoping. Well, I mean, maybe Sif will come back.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. They have left the door open, and I think honestly, if they didn't die on screen, it's hit or miss what the directors say, because you could always change that.
Yeah, I mean, there's as of right now, they're still planning reshoots over in August. I think one of the reshoots is actually in Scotland. So that's something
that's where
something to chew on.
That's where the Vision is first attacked, in Scotland. Yeah. So it would be interesting. Maybe they do like almost a kind of backstory or backseat side story, kind of like the Sand Wraith plot in Warrior Within, where I'm kind of envisioning a thing where Avengers 4 is Avengers 3 from a different angle, where you have somebody going back in time and doing things just behind the scenes, and then right at the end it comes together. That would be an interesting way to do it. So,
yeah. But part of me, I'm just gonna guess. I'm not gonna throw all my betting money on this, but I imagine a lot of the deaths, except for maybe like Gamora, that is not from the snap did stick.
I will say I will agree, except for Loki. He's a slippery bastard, and I think if anybody would come away from this, it would be him.
Yeah, and his attack at Thanos,
A little ill-advised.
a little too direct.
Yeah, for a god of mischief, it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's either he's tricking Thanos or he's phoning it in, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think there's more going on there than just kill Loki to show the scale of things.
Yeah,
Because I really like Loki and Thor actually acting like brothers. I think it's hilarious, and I would want to see more of that.
Yeah.
I would want to see Thor movies going forward with them on Earth, like interacting.
and I hope they bring back the Warriors 3 somehow. I mean, that's kind of a tall order, I think, at this point, but...
Yeah, that one I don't see happening so much.
Yeah.
Unless the time travel goes back that far. I don't know. But anyway, so bottom line here is we want Avengers 4 to come out sooner rather than later so that we can stop speculating and start watching.
Yeah, and the news lapped up the speculation, like, over the last, 3 weeks. I'm just like, yeah, did they get the subtitle? No, they didn't. Shut up. Just don't raise your hand until you have the answer, please. Thank you.
Yeah, amen. All right, so I don't know what we're going to be talking about next, but we'll figure something out. This has been the C Team. I'm Mike Curley.
And this is Frank Curley.
Good night.
Assemble.
Yeah, that too.